Hello and welcome back to Madmen with a Box, to our weekly live stream. I'm OZChris. I am joined as always by ProfPixel.
Hello.
And we are joined by Joe Corallo of Comics.
It's true. I am here. I feel like, guys, maybe it's time you update your thumbnails in that intro.
I know.
You don't look like the same people anymore.
Well, we're
missing
pretty much
one
the
of them.
same. We're pretty much the same.
And you're missing one of them. But no, like you could, it's
it might be time.
You're
It
right.
might be time.
I think it's
it's time we regenerate the channel.
Yeah.
And then after that, once we'll just regenerate it back. Because I don't know, we're running out of gas. We're tired or something. I don't know.
We
want to settle down and have a normal life.
We'll regenerate it. Jimmy will come back and we'll have Jimmy 2, that era.
You're in distress, I think is what you're looking for. but no, yeah, I don't know. I feel like at least you're avoiding all of the same things that you just keep seeing. Like what was it? I feel like every other day some like rink-a-dink website or something is running the definitive proof that Doctor Who is over. And that it's
Guys,
been
the ratings aren't as good as they were. It's definitely gonna get cancelled now. Oh yeah, no! Sources say Disney's not happy. Well, Disney is streaming it. They don't really get a say on whether the show gets cancelled or not. It's still up to the BBC. Disney is just giving them extra money and streaming it to everyone. So it's
crazy.
Well, to be fair, BBC's track record with canceling Doctor Who.
Sure, but yeah, I mean, it's like the ratings aren't, the viewership or whatever isn't as high as it was years ago or something. But that's everything, like ever. I mean,
yeah, it's like people that are disingenuous and like say like Doctor Who is dead, it's dying because the ratings are bad, are forgetting that RTD1 era, Moffat era, it's a completely different time. It may not seem like it, but like 20 years ago, television landscape is different to now, where you could argue there really isn't a television landscape anymore because it's streaming.
All streaming.
Everything's online now.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Of course, the ratings aren't going to be that big.
No.
You're not going to get these like huge TV ratings like we did back in the days, back in the early 2000s.
I mean, it's crazy thinking about it that way. It kind of makes you want to hurl myself into oncoming traffic, but whatever.
I mean, life was easier 20 years ago. So
back in my day,
I had Doctor Who on 2 different channels.
Mad old man.
Back then, it was like, do I upgrade my Doctor Who VHSs to the DVDs?
Back in my day, we only had telesnaps of classic Who.
Do I really want to get rid of my VHS box set of The Trial of a Time Lord that's like the TARDIS?
No,
don't get rid of that. You gotta keep
I think I might still have that somewhere. I have to look. I might still have that.
But no, we are here for another week of Doctor Who news, plus our audio story that we are reviewing at the end of Project Twilight. So what is our news, Pixel?
We have one thing.
Great.
Because Russell doesn't want to give us anything. We're 2 months out from the Christmas special, and do we know anything else about it? No.
This is what we have. To be fair, they did release a lot about the Christmas special. Like, it was about a month ago, but they did release a lot about it then.
Then.
Now we have nothing.
But not now. But anyway, regardless, so over at Big Finish, to celebrate 20 years of its Gallifrey range, they are releasing a download only box set called Echoes Through Eternity, where Sean Carson, Miles Richardson, and Sophie Aldred would be reading 4 stories written by Gary Russell, Theo Treadaway, Georgia Cook, and Una McCormack. They're all... Gary was the one that started the Gallifrey range, so it makes sense that he would come back to do an anniversary box set. Theo and Georgia were on the most recent Gallifrey War Room box set, which I always bring up because their 2 stories were like the best 2 stories in that box set, but they were all good stories. So, and McCormack, I believe, has done some Gallifrey stuff. Pixel, we listened to one of her books with the 15th Doctor recently, and we both enjoyed that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested in this. I've always been a big fan of the Gallifrey range, which is weird because the whole politics of Gallifrey just doesn't interest me. It's kind of just the politics in general is just so boring to me. But like the Gallifrey range has just made it just so interesting.
See, for me,
Doctor Who spin on politics, and it helps when you have familiar characters like Romana and Leela and K9. So I would be getting this. I love the cover for this. It's an amazing looking cover. I hate the fact that it's a download only, because I would love to own this physically.
Yeah, it's a really nice cover.
Just for that cover.
Hang it up on the wall quality right there.
Yeah, just hang up my box set on the wall, just glue it onto the wall. I'm not going to use the disc for anything. What am I going to put it in?
Hello to Gevain as well.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. How you doing?
Hello, Gevain.
Good.
Snuck in there. I didn't see.
He's too busy talking about Gallifrey.
Yes. But no, that's our news. Unless, Pixel, you want to talk about they're currently filming the Doctor Who spin-off. There's some behind-the-scenes stuff.
No.
Yeah, I don't want to either. It's not really much to talk
There's
about.
nothing there. It's just a bunch of people on a set. Like,
yeah,
we get to see any kind of
soldiers,
aliens.
and then Russell Tovey's there, and then his stunt double is there, and his stunt double literally just jumps, and I'm like, wow, you really needed a stunt double to jump? Well,
some people.
No, if you look at the clip, it's like literally just a leaping off one spot to another.
Listen,
I'm like,
people need jobs at the
you need a
time
stunt double. You need a stunt double for that.
He's called a stunt jumper. It's his specialty.
I know that's their job, but I feel like if it's just to jump, I feel like Russell could do that himself.
You think so? But that's where you're wrong.
I know he could. He definitely could, but I don't know. What do I know? I'm not in the filmmaking business.
That's right.
Maybe it costs too much money for him to jump. Maybe there's too many risks. I don't know. I'm just a guy on the internet.
You're really worked up over this jumper.
I just feel like it's
getting a little...
just going off the post. It says Russell's stunt double just lobbed himself into the water. Meanwhile, actually, no, I've read this wrong. That it's literally... Oh, no, it is Russell jumping. So, yes, he can jump.
Oh. So the stunt double is just watching him?
No, the stunt double jumped into water. Okay, so the stunt double did like a really good job. And Russell just jumped.
Russell jumped and...
Oh, might as well jump.
Then Russell T. Davies watched an episode of this podcast and he jumped. No.
Russell's not watching this podcast.
No, he's not.
How many times we criticize him.
The only
Russell, if you are watching this podcast, actually explain shit, please, because it's pretty infuriating.
We have been blessed with Stephen Noonan watching our channel, and that is more than enough for me. But speaking of actors in Big Finish, it's time to talk about our topic of the story from Big Finish that we review here, Project Twilight. Joe of the Corallos, you want to start us off today?
Sure. I think I listened to this once decades ago, which is sad thinking about it that way. But yeah, these are the early days of Big Finish. What was it? You got the not as a company, but doing the Doctor Who style. Yeah. Anyway, I forgot about the Zagreus bit. I was like, oh right, that whole thing. That was crazy. But yeah, what was it? Colin Baker and Evelyn Smythe they work. It works well together. They're a good team. They make sense together, and I think a lot of the stories they're in shine when they're doing stuff together. Overall, with this story, I just like this one doesn't grab me as much as some other Colin Baker stories. I think part of it is, and this is early on still, but like there's a lot of like retreading. Like it's a lot of themes and stuff I feel that were already covered when Colin was the Doctor on TV. Like there's a lot of parallels to this, so like the cruelty to people that like is similar to like Revelation of the Daleks and some of the other stories he was in. The you know, that sort of like gratuitous violence and the corpses and all of that, like it all just felt very similar to that. Felt like stuff we've seen before, you know, with the Doctor, and also with, you know, devouring things and all. Like there's a little bit of that two doctors in there too. Like it just felt very like, I feel like the Colin Baker audios excel when we get to see Colin stray a bit from those sort of themes that he was already kind of dealing with in a heavy-handed way in the show. I know that this serial does add elements like, what was it, like because Nimrod comes back, right?
Yeah, this is the first part of, technically it's a loose trilogy. But yeah, Nimrod does come back. This is the start. This is the origin of the Forge and Nimrod.
Yeah, and like that's fine. It's not like, it doesn't feel like that was, it felt soft in that sense of like, if this goes over well and people like it, we'll do more with it. But it's not like it wasn't too heavy handed in the story. And that actor was good, playing Nimrod. All of the acting worked. It felt like, I feel like when it comes to Big Finish, sometimes with stories like these, and again, this is earlier on. I think they figure out some other techniques, other things to do, you know, years later. But like, it felt smaller than I think it should have, and I think that just comes from the nature of being an audio drama, and like I was saying, like some of the music, the effects, and other things, like they're still, you know, developing all of that. But like, but yeah, it felt like, for me, kind of like a middle of the road Colin Baker story. It's not bad, but it's you have to struggle a bit to find moments that are memorable, because the moments in it that would be maybe memorable, like they are again like kind of like retreads of themes that we've already seen. Like it's not more memorable than, you know, the human face and the Dalek and Revelation of the Daleks, you know, and stuff like that, like or some of these other moments. So it's, I think it's fine. It's pretty good.
Okay. Gevain.
Yeah, I think I agree a lot with Joe said. I was glad he gave it a little bit of history in terms of how early on this is in Big Finish's production, because it did feel like very primitive in a sense. But I think that also for me, that was kind of
Did it cut out for y'all too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we're just Gevain, return to us. You might drop off again. I think he was having some issues before while Joe was talking.
Yeah, that's all right.
We'll just sit here, silence. No, we'll go back to him.
Yeah, of course.
Oh wait, look, he's already back.
Yeah, I'm already back. Yeah, it's okay. So anyway, like I said, I think I left off with like it sounded very primitive, but I think that also was a little bit of the charm of it for me. Like I really enjoyed the voice acting, the blood curdling screams as bones were broken, and things along those lines were very evocative, very evocative, and I like the characters of Smythe and of Nimrod. Like Nimrod kind of felt like almost a proto Dr. Hyde, if you will, and I think even though like I agree with Joe that the story was fine and basic, I think it's the reason I like when we do the big finishes, especially when it's with characters that I think weren't successful in terms of the TV serials like Six, is that it just kind of gives them it gives you a different look. And I think almost listening to Baker is better than watching him, if that makes sense.
I got it.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit more appreciation of the character because you're getting to dive a little bit more deeper into it. It gives me hope for the big finishes that are coming up with 13, that she'll have the same kind of second chance, if you will, as a doctor. But overall, I'd be interested in finishing out the trilogy. I guess I found it to be a nice introduction to the characters, a nice introduction to this particular story. And like I said, I agree with Joe. Some of the other ones definitely, since this is early, some of the other ones we listened to have definitely felt a lot more polished. And I think in some senses a little bit easier to follow in terms of the story, but I still thought this was enjoyable overall. But I really enjoyed a lot of the acting in it. Yeah, a lot of the acting, especially with Nimrod and I think Smythe and the doctor had Evelyn Smythe, I believe it was, had a pretty good chemistry. So yeah. I always like the big finish stuff. Yeah.
I'm pretty much agreeing that you do have to look for moments that you're trying to remember. It's a little bit of a struggle to get there. I did enjoy it, but the violence was overly gratuitous at times. Oh, I couldn't break. Oh, I thought I broke your arm. Oh! Yep. Why are you doing that? That's so much.
Each bone and crackle.
Yeah.
What did you do to her face? It's like, and so we're going to go ahead and banish her to Norway. But my favorite bit is just the Sixth Doctor freaking out that they're vampires and being like, I have to destroy them. It's my people's duty. That is pretty much my highlight. Evelyn is great as always. And in this one, she is being not yelled at by the Doctor a little more, but she's not receiving all the information, and she's asking. She wants to understand everything that's going on, and he's trying to keep things from her, just trying to move right along. And that's where some of the trouble lies. But it's still an overall fine story. Not one of the best, but it's certainly not one of the worst. Chris, you probably listened to this before me.
Yes, I've listened to this story before, so this is probably my second time having to listen to Project Twilight. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I like it, but yeah, it's an okay story. Sixth Doctor, great in it. Evelyn, great. Definitely one of the best Big Finish companions outside of like Charlie. She is such a great companion for Six.
Yeah.
So their dynamic, yeah, it's good, but it's not as good as it is in other stories. Nimrod is interesting, but I think he's much better in the next few stories of this loose arc. there's not really much I can say about it. It's just an okay story. I do prefer at least the next two stories. Project Lazarus and Project Destiny. Pixel might find Lazarus interesting because it's 6 and 7.
Yeah.
It's one story split in two. The first half is essentially a sequel to this, and then the second half is a sequel to the first half with some twists. And Project Destiny, I didn't remember liking Project Destiny, but I can't remember what happens in it. And then there's like a few loose, like extra stories, like Project Valhalla, Twilight's End. So there's a lot. And again, also introduction of the Forge, which I'm surprised that Big Finish didn't do a lot more with. They really just stuck it with these characters, with 6 and then later on 7. Like they didn't try and branch him out, which was actually surprising when I think it was the 7th Doctor box set. Is either last year or the year before? Like the story was called Operation Dusk, and while the main antagonists were the Vashta Narada, the Forge was actually the main antagonist, and everyone was like, "Wow, they remembered the Forge." That's surprising that they remembered they existed. So I'm kind of surprised that they weren't just like a more of a recurring like villain for their range. They do like have mentions in other stories, but as the central antagonist, it's always Nimrod, which I'm actually fine with because I think the voice actor does like a really like great job as Nimrod. But overall, with Project Twilight, it's fine. I do agree. It feels like it. I think it's mainly because it's still very early. Big Finish. It's like I think it was their second or third year doing this. I mean, it's so early that it's the third Doctor theme for the audio because they didn't have the rights yet to any of the other themes yet. So that's how early it is. I do feel like it was them still trying that. They're still trying to work out a lot of the kinks. It's not perfect. Because if you look at like other stories before this was the 23rd story that they've done for Doctor Who, like Big Finish Doctor Who. And then you look at like stories before it, you have like Dust Breeding, you have like the Mutant Phase, the Apocalypse Element, like the Mary Conspiracy. Like a lot of these stories, just looking at the list, there's a lot of like, some of them are okay, and then you get ones that are like really good. So they were still trying to work out the kinks.
Yeah. Fearmonger is one of the early ones, right?
Yeah, Fearmonger was like the 5th story. I've yet to listen to that, but really I've heard it's really good. I've yet to listen to that one.
Yeah.
That's what
Jacqueline Pierce is also in it, right?
Sorry?
I think Jacqueline Pierce is in Fearmonger, right?
Oh, let me have
I think she
look.
plays like the villain in it.
Yeah, she's in it. Yeah, Jacqueline Pierce is in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's worth doing.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Project Twilight, it's a fine story. Vampires. Okay.
I do have to go ahead and take this moment to go ahead and say before we get to rankings. Big Finish, thank you for finally fixing your app somewhat so I can use it again. So that's great because that's how I had to.
They fixed their app and gave everyone free access to the 4 Doctors. So.
Yes, I need to download that immediately. But I guess it's time to give this a number, huh?
Yep. Joe, take it away.
All right. I guess I'll give this a 6.5. Like it was good, but it's fine. But like it didn't blow me away. But I liked it, so 6.5.
Gevain.
Yeah, Joe's in my range. Yeah, I say 6. yeah, like I said, I agree with Chris. Like, it's a fine story. Like, it's okay. Like, yeah, I would like to continue with the trilogy. I'm intrigued by the sort of 6-7 crossover. So I think that would be fun. But a lot of for me was I thought the cast was fairly effective. I thought the blood curdling screams did a lot. So I agree with you guys about looking for moments, but the moments for me was just the sheer brutality and the way it was evoked. But definitely a 6.
Okay. I'm going to go 6.5 as well. There are things to definitely enjoy. It's not a bad story, but it's nothing too great, too special. So I think 6.5 is my number as well. Chris.
Yeah, I'm also going 6.5 for this. Yeah, it's an okay story, but like, yeah, you could kind of tell that they were still working out the kinks of like audio production. Still very early on for them, but it's a fine story. It's not the best Sixth Doctor and Evelyn story. It's fine. It's okay, but at least it's an introduction to the Forge and Nimrod, who are much better in future stories that continue this arc. So yeah, 6.5.
Okay. So there we have it. I'm just going to take this as a reminder. There is no show next week. I disappeared for a week. I know.
Yeah.
I'll be back after. So no Madman with the Box. But do we have a review that we could probably put up?
Probably. I still got I got one ready to release. I still got to upload one more. So
that might be something.
Who knows?
Take us away. Send us out of here.
Well, that is it for this week's Madmen with a Box. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you to Joe and Gevain for joining us for this stream. Appreciate it as always. We would like you to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Remember to tune into us in 2 weeks, not next week, in 2 weeks for
whatever.
Doctor Who, I guess. I don't know. My plans to turn this into the Class podcast are not working, so...
Go to hell, sir. Go to hell.
We'll see you next time, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.